You know, you may say you're awake. You've woken up. But really, you've woken up to the problems of the world. Woken up to another layer of information. But you haven't woken up to the solution. Maybe it's because you think that the solution is that everybody needs to wake up. You know, everybody's so easy to say, but everybody speaks different languages, everybody lives different lives. Everybody's day is filled and consumed by daily affairs, petty tyrants, chores, problems. Those problems are serious problems that come from within and without. They come from their own families, their own circle of friends, their own neighbours, but also their own governments, their own religious institutions. So the problems are real and they're out there and they're in there. A waking up process is within yourself, the clarity to see the world without all of the filters and protection devices that we get given as children, and the indoctrinations, the pre-programmed ideas and controlled thoughts to make us somehow follow the scheme. And once we break away from all of that and we see clearly, we can see the world for what we think it is. But it's only what we think it is. It's a new view, a different view. But just because it's different to the one before does not make it the real one. You cannot find the proof of something simply by putting it alongside something else. There has to be some reasonable comparison. So just because we find a suspect, just because we find evidence of corruption or evidence of foul play, does not mean that we know everything. So we think we're waking up to the problems of the world, and maybe that's true, maybe that's essential for many of us to wake up to how the world really is, with its vaccines and its laws and its incorrect distribution of wealth, its greed, its prejudices and racism that's generated by the media. Of course, there's all these problems. I could talk to you about the world's problems forever, and you could pass my videos on to other people to try and wake people up to the world's problems. Hey, vaccines. Hey, Monsanto. Hey, chemtrails. Fact is, we're preaching to the choir. Nowadays, most people I meet know there are problems in the world, know that government's a joke, know that politicians are liars, know that the church is a farce, know that, that people know. Even people who have got good jobs, families, and everything else, they know that the society needs healing. It's sickened. It's corrupt. Maybe we're powerless as individuals to do something, but we're not powerless as individuals to see clearly. And until we see clearly, we haven't got the answer. We are not awake. We've only woken within the dream. But unless you wake up to a solution, unless you alone can see in your mind's eye that the solution, a solution for you, what it could possibly be, and not just a remedy to finding a solution by waking everybody up and so that everybody decides, oh, now we need to find a solution. No, we've spent too long, too many years over and over talking about chemtrails, Monsanto, vaccines, and they're all important subjects, wars, national news. We need to keep the transparency going on those things, but we don't need to be pushing it on each other when we already know the answers. If someone comes up to me in the street and we talk and they say, oh, politics is a joke and I hate the system, I don't need to then start saying, oh yeah, and then there's chemtrails and you know about like Iraq, and I don't need to put any more problems onto the problem that's already there, because now that person is hungry for a solution. And if I don't deliver the solution, that person will no longer be interested in fighting that cause, but more trying to escape everybody else who's just shouting about it. If I spend 3 years shouting about the problems, the only people I've got left is the people who are shouting about the problems. And until we realise that we're the only ones shouting amongst ourselves and nobody else is listening, because they already kind of agree anyway, it's just that they're sick of the shouting, sick of the constant negative information. We've all got enough negative information. We've all got enough proof that everything's out of line, ill, sick, corrupt. We know that. Now, if we don't look for some kind of solution that's in our individual hearts, minds, soul, and in the mind, however you want to call it, it has to be you in completeness. So it's not just your gut feeling, but in your mind it makes sense. In your heart it's what you want to do. Because there's no point in fighting a fight where your heart isn't in it. There's no point in fighting a fight with hate. You need to fight that fight with love. Otherwise, we might as well just all hate everything. And then they've won the war, the enemy, whoever they are. Because until you wake up, you are maybe they. I am sorry. But if you are not awake, how can you ensure that you are not just making the whole thing bigger for them, for the others, whoever they are, the ones who you perceive maybe to be knowingly or unknowingly supporting evil? They are the ignorant ones. But people. There's not enough people come to my channel and say, hey Steve, you're talking about solutions, but I don't understand you. People I think come to my channel and say, well, I know all of that, that's obvious, so I'll move on. But I'm talking about solutions. Maybe you're not understanding that the solution is already in you. And all the time that you're trying to wake others up, you're like postponing your own solutionary path. It's blocking your mind because you're spending most of the time trying to find out how to explain to another, rather than just sort of like having a go at that every day. I'll try and get my message across, but I'll dedicate my mind to working on what could be a tangible solution. What do I mean? For example, people want to live without government. It's a nice thought that we can think about in the future, maybe in a distant future. But remember, we are in today, so any theory we come up with has to begin today and carry on from where it came. So it's okay to theorise about the perfect society and how things should be, but the government is an idea that's been running for thousands of years. No man is government. It's an institution made of people who get paid to keep it together and people who get convinced into giving it power, like a kingdom. Now, we've got this pyramid system, and if we want to shout at it and try and get others, as many voices as we can, to shout at that system, it still won't bring it down. We have to realise that we are that pyramid. We are the conspiracy. We are the power. We are the evil in the world. Sometimes you just have to realise that we are not that intelligent. We were schooled. We were trained as little soldiers, maybe, not to be intelligent and enjoy life, but to actually solve this problem out. Because school was a macrocosm of this world. So I'm glad I went to school. I'm glad I learnt to hate the teachers. I'm glad I learnt to deal with the kids and their nasty traits. I'm glad I had to go through that terrible time in school, because now I realise that was a lesson for life, and life isn't just about nature and natural law. We are the supernatural. Nature is just the way it works, and we are the ones who have it in our hands. We are the supernatural. So yes, the Bible was written by supernatural beings called man. The Bible is not about the creation of the everything. It's about the creation of the Word. As soon as we begin to use the word and write it down and create names and create laws and create rules on paper in words that we can then apply and repeat, on a regular. You know, it's that word that rules us now. It's that written word that rules us now. It's the actual words that we read and take as read that fool us. If you didn't speak the language, the words would not affect you. So it's you doing it to yourself, and the way that the language has been set up to be ready for you to fool yourself. The language itself is giving you two solutions, and you're obviously always going to take the one because you think that's the problem. But if you took the other one, maybe you'd see a solution. But as you see, nobody's interested in the solution because they're so busy waking everyone up to the problem. So they increase the size of the problem, try and work on a better explanation of why we need to wake up, but where's the solution? Now, I appreciate if someone's got no idea of a solution and hasn't got even the ability to work on a solution, then we can work on how to express certain problems, to bring out certain dangers, things that people are unaware about food and you know, vaccines and things like this, things that affect every individual personally. But on my channel, I've always worked on solutions to individual problems. Now I hear people going on all the time, vaccines are deadly, vaccines are dangerous. How about just delivering the solution, and then the audience would realise, well, there's a solution there to a problem I wasn't even aware of. But this guy's bold enough to bring it as a solution and not as a problem. But how can we, you know, you're saying, well, there is no real solution. Well, the solution is a part of finding a solution. And the solution isn't like just finding a problem. A problem, reaction, solution. But your reaction, it can't be to just go back to the problem. Problem, reaction, problem. You know, it has to be solution. You know, it's up to our reaction then creates the solution. It's how we respond to this information. And if we're going to talk about news events and world affairs and things, we should be light-hearted. We should humiliate those evil figures. We should humble them all, to bring you know, all those people who are pretending to be up somewhere higher than the rest of us. They're not. So they deserve a little bit of humiliation. And I like to find the quiet ones, the ugly ones, the monsters, those who can't speak very well, the people from the street, and actually express their good points. To speak loud the things that the quiet people are muttering and uttering. Because I know a lot of people who watch my channel, they're probably not the people who are going to like shout out in public. You know, there's a lot of visionaries and solutionaries who watch my channel and keep it to themselves. Don't even click like because they're not that kind of person. They haven't probably even got enough friends to watch what they share. You know, so there's a lot of people who are looking for solutions, but they can't find many sources because most people think that everyone still needs to wake up to the problem. Now, well, I think the whole planet's pretty much aware of the problem, but unless we start giving the solution, it won't get better. In fact, the bigger the problem gets, the more the government will gain power, because it's got the leverage, because it rules and runs the show. You know, politics is the entertainment department of the military-industrial complex, to paraphrase Frank Zappa. You know, if you think about that, you know, his father worked in the military. He must have passed something down to Frank to say, you know, this is the problem with the world. You know, it's all a show, but it's a serious show. There's a reason it's a show. Now get in, you know, start to realise that you've been born into a bigger thing, and you can't just like rely on nature to catch you. So we're born into this game, and just like any game, you turn it on, you don't know the rules. You have to accept that its rules are there. It's got a gameplay. There's other people in it, and you have to learn the rules. And you can either learn the simple rules, or you can start to master the game. But if you accept that, then you can start to look around this game at signs, at things that have been written. Other authors like Tolkien or C.S. Lewis or or Douglas Adams, or depending what language you're in, just look at the really proficient authors, the ones who are good with words and language, and look at what they are trying to say to the reader. Because if you think the solution is going to come from a government, or come from a book, or come from something that's already widely published, it won't be. You'll find the solutions with individuals like me and others who are just thinking for themselves and just talking into a camera. You will find solutions because you'll find things that nobody will dare say in front of the populace. That's why my channel isn't popular, because I've done it in reverse. I've made sure I started with my truth, and then started with what I think might be your truth, went on to solutions with the idea that you probably know all of those things, all of those corruption things. You know all about the Rothschilds and the banking system and the money and the establishment and religion. You know all about that corruption. And I'm saying to you that you have to re-look at it. First, we have to agree we're in a game. We don't have to accept the game, but we have to agree we've been born as individuals into this game. And you have to find the tools that you can do, whatever tools you can find to do good in this world, even if it means using a little bit of deception. Because I can guarantee to you, words do not create the final solution. You cannot say the answer. Sometimes maybe people will get an answer from you and go, wow, that's an amazing thing you said there. But when you're sat there at night thinking to myself, how can I wake up the world? There is no answer that is speakable. There are actions, there are gestures, there's words, there's you actually getting up there and speaking with all of your might and heart to an audience. Just that gesture without the words is more than the answer that you could try and formulate as an SMS. You see what I'm saying? We drive ourselves crazy trying to find that little key sentence to wake up the population. But all the time you realise that you haven't woken up. You kind of still got this dream, this nightmare, this world that you're seeing. And I'm trying to tell to you, it's not like that either. But when you start to focus in on the idea of what would a solution be, because we can't say to the government we want anarchy, or we can't say to the church you should dissolve. We can't say to all the religious people stop believing. We can't say to all the atheists start believing. This problem will affect everybody. Agnostics, atheists, religious, theists, deists, political, loyalists, every language, it will affect everybody. So the solution, if you want to find a solution, imagine yourself in your little village, around the people you care for. Imagine what can you do for that village? What can you do for the children? What can you do to make the streets nicer? What can you do to make a better place for all your neighbours after listening to all of their little problems about what's in the village? And then you notice that the village is being controlled from a higher force, the councils, the governments. Then you start to approach the councils. You go into the councils and talk to people who are in council capacity. They ask the questions. You don't try and wake them up to the New World Order. You don't try and tell them the problems, because you know what you know. So you approaching people with questions, and without like tainted questions that are like, loaded, just very innocent questions that you have. What can I do for this village? What can I do because I want to do something? If people are receiving benefit money, income support from the government, that in a way, if you're getting paid from the government, then you should accept the fact that you're working. You're actually working for the government. So then you can take it into your own hands to do things for the government. But obviously, the government is no man. So you're the only one who can work out what your government does. When the Queen sits on her throne and says, my government, every man, every woman should say, my government. But you will reject that because of your hate for the government. And I can fully understand that, because I was the same until last year or 2 years ago. And then I started to force myself to look at the world in a different way. And I'm not saying I'm seeing it different, but I'm saying a lot of what we've seen is wrong, is false, is not true. Even what we call fake is not really fake. You wouldn't go up to a magic show and say that magic show is fake. It's a magic show. It was devised to elude the audience for a reason, and not just to trick them out of money, not just to trick them out of their energy, but actually to give them some magic, to deliver something. You know, just because you don't know about something and something's happening without your consent or control doesn't mean to say it's evil. Just, let's come back to the realization that we have to accept that the game is already on. It's good if we find the rules as individuals. Everybody's in this game. Let's try and make it some fun. Let's try and look at the solutions. And when people say, well, why do you need a solution? Oh, haven't you seen the problem? Oh, we don't want to go, it's a horrible problem, but we're looking at the solution now, so you're okay, you can join the club. We've already worked through the horror bit. And I presume that everybody who watches my channel knows about 90% of the corruption or apparent evils in the world. I can guarantee if I sat here and told you about Monsanto and Codex Alimentarius and how it was developed by an ex-Nazi, and how it was never actually left in its German translation but into 6 other translations, and it's now in the World Health Organization in Switzerland, which is a self-grounded corporation. I know this stuff. I know more than most of you about Monsanto. I read the original documents in German, and I'm not bragging, but I'm sick of trying to make a channel without making it just deliver you with all the problems. I want to deliver you with the solutions. Now, the solutions, for example, to vaccines, that was like the freedom of religion, the rights to religion. If it's against your religion to take a vaccine, then you should be freed from taking that vaccine. That I saw to be the only solution to get yourself out of vaccines. Now, maybe it's different, but I took that and I thought to myself, what is a religion? And I looked and I looked and I looked, and I found out we were all wrong about the word religion. Because religion means coming back to and rejoining. Now, it's up to you to decide what you're going to rejoin with. You can either rejoin with the anonymous group, or you can rejoin with the anarchist group, or go with the agnostics or the atheists or the Christians. Or it's not about joining another man. You cannot serve 2 masters. And so either you serve man or you serve the universe, the good, the cosmos, the creation, yourself. But until you've got a connection between you, yourself, and the rest of the world, the game and everything it's in it, and accepted that this universe created this game, created this apparent evil, as soon as you can start to then fall back in love with the universe like you used to love it as a kid, and then find the solutions to why you're not in love with it anymore, and bring it back so that we can have that marriage between me and the rest of the world again, so that you can get married to the world again, so that everyone can get married to reality again. Because we've got divorced from reality. We've divorced ourselves from the society. We live on the edge of it. We're trying to escape. There is no escape because we was never in. It's a prison from the outside. You are your own prisoner to yourself. I say this on every video, but it sounds like esoteric speech. The esoteric people, one of the problem that I feel, and I don't want to be nasty, but you got these gurus, which I listen to. I suppose you could say if I listen to, I follow their work, but I don't follow it in that way. And I know you all know what I mean. You listen to a lot of esoteric teachings, a lot of gurus, a lot of spiritual new age teachings, and you find a lot of good in there. In fact, a lot of good. In fact, you found the clarity. You could see the world. You regained a lot of your energy. But when you look at these gurus, they're built if you say there's a canyon, and they built half a wonderful bridge over one side, but then because everybody bought the books and paid for the seminars, they stand on that, sit on that throne and teach everybody how to get to that point. Problem is, now they've sold 1 million books, they can build their own bridge to the other side. So the power of now, if you can manage to write a book called The Power of Now, then you can live forever on it till eternity. And if you die, your book will still live on for eternity. So the now and eternity, there's a bridge point, but they never told you how to deal with the rest of your life. They told you how to see clearly, but they don't tell you how to earn money as a spiritual person. They don't tell you how your relationship is with the government as a spiritual person. They don't tell you how you should get into the world as a spiritual person. It's all about leaving this and becoming elite. You know, we just have to realise that we've got one foot in the real world and one foot in the imaginary world. And it's up to us to rebuild that imaginary world so that it really fits. So I just wanted to get that off my chest. I will, I'll see you later. Thanks for being here and thanks for listening. And I hope you listen really, really carefully, because I know how difficult it is to listen. And I give a lot of information, but it's because I don't have the time. I have to work on a lot of stuff myself, because a lot of other people are just looking at the problems and how they can wake other people up to the problems. I don't really know the answer to that, except for just maybe become a joker, become an entertainer, get 1 million people and then tell them. When you've got enough people at once, just tell them that one sentence. Don't know. I shall no longer try and find a one-liner sentence to wake up humanity, because it's in the hand, it's in the mind. It's not in the words in that way. We can talk, and it's really good. It's really talk that we communicate this stuff. And the hangouts and people talking about the news and mocking it and having fun with it, fantastic. But don't forget the solutions. Don't forget the fact that we all know, most of us already know this stuff. I'd only be preaching to the choir if I wasn't shouting and arguing with you now. I'm not here to agree with you. I'm here to disagree with you. Because obviously, if you're right and everybody else is right, then why are we still looking for solutions? I've found solutions for me. I know that people know those solutions, but to understand the absolute importance of finding the solutions within yourself and then trying one-to-one with other people to work on that is a good idea. And then to talk to the masses about the big problems, to make sure that everybody gets a pie in the face of reality. Give the reality biscuits out. But if somebody's already sick on reality biscuits, work on solutions. Work on a remedy. Too many people disregard my work, I think. And I can't change my work to suit you. If you disagree with my work, then look at what you disagree with, because that's the answer in you. Don't take, half of what I say because it sounds really good and wow, he's just gave us an amazing idea there, but I'll leave the other half because that sounds wrong. That's just you being selective. And I'm not here to make sure that I give you what you need, but I'm here to make sure that I give you what you can find. Because what you need and what you can really get power from are two different things. You need food and water and everything. But essentially, to come to power, you need also to understand the world outside, to understand the nature of the game and how it affects and how it relates to you as an individual. This system was crafted around the idea of an individual. But it was also crafted around the idea of this individual being repeated, living together with itself. So the power of the individual is the power that you're looking for. And as soon as you find your power, other people will see it in your eyes, see it in your actions, see it in your gestures, hear in your words that your words just reflect solutions, and you're not actually trying to point out why you're doing it. You're just doing it, and they start to see that it's working, and they can start to learn from you. But that's not necessarily here on YouTube, but in real life, and that will flow over into YouTube. The result, what I do here on my channel is the result of my real life. It's just not me having a theoretical time about things. I talk about things that make my life work. When I go and visit people, when I talk to people of authority, I win the argument, or I don't go into that argument. Now, wouldn't it be nice to win an argument against politicians and lawyers and bankers, because they always seem to have a magic answer of the law is the law. I've tried to give you these answers, but they're just too simple, too obvious, and too well encrypted inside of you for you to decrypt them, maybe. And it will take time, but you have to understand people are not hearing things because of blockages. And so you have to then think to yourself, am I not getting further because of my blockages? Because I know I've woken up a million times. And I'm waking up every day. This to me now is a waking up. The realization of this bridge that's being built. Half of it's on books and the other half is a spiritual view on life. And people are falling off the end of it because they've finished looking for solutions, because now it's about popularity, blowing it up. But it isn't. It remains by you. All of these gurus should have shown us how hard their lives are. Isn't it so much nicer to hear someone else's problems to realise you're not alone, rather than just tell someone your problems and then give you some kind of solution, But sometimes the solution is just a solution, And so if somebody just wants to talk about the problems because that makes them feel better, then that's hypochondria. So is this just fear porn hypochondria? Is this just conspiracy hypochondria? Making a bigger problem as an excuse to not actually have the power, when the power was always there, You just have to use your mind, your heart. You have to have. The reason I talk about heart and mind is because if your heart and your mind are saying two different things, then just have a look at what's in your mind and change that to fit your heart. Unless it's logical and work out why your heart's not in it. But it's not all in the mind. It's like you have to be at one with yourself. And if you're feeling crappy and shit, if you've got like a problem in your gut, then it's not going to help you to find clarity, to find a solution, to offer anybody anything. There's strength in numbers in one way, but if that numbers are just lost people who only know the problems without solutions, it just ends in confusion and frustration, and then everybody ends up less powerless, and then the more power structures, the government authorities, that they have them power again, because we've weakened ourselves by being a herd, by trying to become a group of something to get some power, when every individual within that group sacrificed themselves for the group. And that's what sacrifice is. You've already sacrificed your life for the greater good, or an idea of it that wasn't yours. So now you can decide what is the greater good. You can decide how you want to serve humanity. You have to serve humanity, but you can choose. You have to go to work, but you can choose who's boss. Are you boss? Is government boss? Is another man boss? These things are self-evidential. People are saying to me, I don't believe in God, or blah, blah, blah. No, there's no evidence out there, is there? So just work it out for yourself. And then you realise. But it's a great responsibility that you have to take on, and maybe that's what we're all hypochondria in and about. We'd rather get a society full of people to work things out rather than to be strong as an individual. Just listen closely if you want that power as an individual. Just listen very closely at the author, at what he's trying to say to those who are listening closely, because he's not going to throw the answer in everybody's face, because it has power, because it needs responsibility. And that's why books like the Bible are coded, so that those who are too unintellectual are not going to get their hands on some kind of power that would then just be misused, and then we would end up in idiocracy. We don't live in an idiocracy, we live in a film that makes us think we live in idiocracy. But this chaos is perfect. The corruption is perfect. The evil villain figure is playing the perfect role. It's too perfect to be true chaos. So it's not a real idiocracy. It's a videocracy. And we've all been watching too much TV. Come back to yourself. Every one of you, come back to yourselves. Of course we live in this world together, but unless you understand you, you won't understand me. So there is no relationship if you don't understand you. I want you to talk about you. I want to know you. I don't want to know what you think about government necessarily. I want to know what you think about you. I want to know what you think about me. But from your perspective, not from what you think everybody else thinks about me. Are you getting the gist? Are you getting the flow of where I'm always taking this? This isn't no spiritual teaching. This is life, and it's happening now and forever. We have to think of those two things. You can't just think about the now, because later you're going to need to go to the toilet, or you're going to need to eat or something, or someone will need you. So the power of now is, you always need to consider eternity with that now. The power of now brings with it the responsibility of eternity, not then and later. The power of now means that you don't use the past as a guide, because you're driving backwards looking at where you've been. And the power of now means you can always spin round, and you're the point. You are the centre point. You are the point to your life. You are the one that gives a point to your life, a purpose. You are the centre of the life. So don't let us all fool you into thinking that your life isn't the centre of your life. Of course, the world outside doesn't turn around you, but you are the centre of the world that you are in. So come back to yourself. Take on that responsibility of yourself. Work out where your shortfalls are. Work out where you need others. And then give that honour to others, that you need them. But as soon as you can take back your own sovereignty, your own power, your own spirit, into your own skill, then you can take the power. We don't deserve nothing in this world. But we can claim it, if it's a rightful claim. But we can't look at what's wrong when we need to look at what's right. You can't be righteous and wrongtious. And trickery. Trickery is sometimes right. If you do it out of righteous. If you're gentle and everything. So you have to think about it. Don't look for I'm just trying to give you some like pointers to actually debunk a lot of the mythage, a lot of the ideas that have been put into our heads about the power of now and Jesus and all of these different figures. They're all brilliant, but they need linking together so you can understand how to get across that bridge and not try and gain popularity or try and, the other half of the bridge is still a one-way bridge. Show others out that it can be crossed. Show others that you can cross onto the other side, and they'll want to look and they'll want to cross as individuals, because they know you did it as an individual, and if only they can do it, then all of their family, friends and everyone else as individuals can do it. There's no convincing necessary then. We can literally lead by temptation, as we always are led by temptation. Let's lead the people by temptation into a solution, across the problem, across that abyss. Okay, I'll leave it there. I think I've kept going on. It's a long video, but it's really important to me. I don't know if I've covered expressed the points that are important to me, but I just don't want to tell you things you already know. So it's up to you to look into what do you disagree with when you watch my videos, and look into that and ask yourself, maybe Steve disagrees with that too, but he's come to accept that until things have changed, then that has to be just done later. It's a step-for-step process, and if we keep missing a step, then we fall down back to the bottom, and it's not going to help. So we need to work out what is step 1, what is step 2, what is step 3. Trying to imagine the steps even if we're not there, so that we're ready for them kind of steps that are coming, to get them in the right order. So sometimes it takes a little bit of patience with some things, and other things, this is the step. This is the step that I need to kind of express to people, to help people onto step 1. Step 1, everybody. Step 1, everybody. Not Use the ladder, use the ladder. Anybody who's trying to use the ladder needs to know which step to use. So as soon as you find a step that works and you get, it actually works for you, then maybe you can tell others. But if you keep falling back down, you can't tell everybody, you can't say if we get 50 people, you'll be able to push me up and I'll be able to make it up that ladder, Oh, I've said enough. Cheerio. Thanks for listening. See you in the next video.